What's the population?
Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. Everybody said we're holding today in Chulin Daf Samich, a daf full of Laganata. We're going to focus on the Pshat, a little bit, a few inyonim here and there that we could get into, but just keep in mind that there's depth, oimik to get into in this daf, but we're just going to give a little taste. The Gemara starting in the middle of the stories that happened with Caesar and Yeshua Mechananyo. Caesar. Omar Levin Daf Nutes Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. Omar Le Kesar Le Bishur Mechanan. Baino de Echezei Le Elokaicho. I want to see your God. The first word he explained, he didn't want to see actually God, but wanted to see his, to be able to show his revelation to him. Omar Le Lo Matzis Chazis Le. That's not possible. Omar Le Ivro Chazino. When Daf Samach Madam. Yes, I will. Meaning, your life will depend on it, and you better show it to me. Also, ukmei lehadi yoimo with kufas tamus. Kufas tamus, today, now, he says, you put it in front of the sun. Omeli stakal bay says, look at the sun. Omeli lumatzinas, they can't. Omeli yoimo, in the sun, chad misham shedikaim kamed kushabichu, omad lumatzinas takuli bay. It's one of the shamash of Kushbog, you can look at it. Of course you can look at Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Now this is really a mashal. It's brought down all the sea from Kabbalah to tell us that when you want to look at the shining revelation of Hakadosh Baruch Hu in the world, the same way you can't look at the sun, you can't look at that. And therefore, there's a concept of Hakadosh Baruch Hu's mitzamtzim in order to reveal lower dimensions of Gilu Hakadosh Baruch Hu in the world. We have what's called a tzimtzum. The tzimtzum is to we shouldn't bring that as a mashal. The same way the sun. You can't look directly. What happens when you want to see a solar eclipse? You look through, it's like a barrier, glasses that are dark. That's how you can connect to Gilu HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world with some barriers. I want to feed the God. To feed him. I want to prepare for him a food. To prepare him food. Prepare him bread. Why? Rasha says over here that he said, I know Hakadosh Baruch Hu is very spiritual, but he does a lot of physical elements here as well. I want to connect to that physical element, so I want you I want to make food for him. Say, no, we won't. You weren't able to. Why not? He says, he has too many soldiers. Meaning, it could be too much for you to do it.
It's a big problem.
Don't worry, I'm good with it. Only Pup Tzovis Legido the Reviso go to the riverbank, big open space. That there it's open, and you prepare the food there. No problem. 6 months in the summer, he was preparing food with his servants, preparing food, the biggest feast possible.
It's a caterer's dream.
Also Ziko. Came the winter, came the wind. He took all the food into the sea. So then he went for 6 months of the winter, he did it. Also came the rain, put it into the sea. My eyes, what's going on here? These are the, Hashem has many soldiers and many groups of servants. These are just the preview. The wind took whatever he needed. Came the rain, took whatever he needed. You still have much more to go. That's really I can't. So with Pashup Pshat, and there's more to it, obviously, but it was unbelievable kivalto. You think you can relate to Hakadosh Baruch Hu in a physical element? Look at the physical elements of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. The wind, the rain, it's endless. So Kol Shekin, when we're not talking about the physical elements. Only Bas Keso, they were Shuvah not in the door of the Kesa. So, as before she would say, she's doing this in a little bit of a zilzul, in a disgraceful way. Says, your God is a carpenter. He puts the rain on top. Both of them are sure, the Ben Yod explain that she was koif for Hashgacha Pratis. Means he put some rain on top, he made a special chamber of rain, and he left. And he has there on top the rain. Because he made a special room. That's where everything comes from, and that's it. You know what? I also want something. In other words, making fun. If he takes care, he's a carpenter, he can create things, he created a place for water. Do for me as well. I want Misteriso. Misteriso is what Rashi says, it's called Div Lashkayish Belaz, which they add to, in other words, it's something that has to do with it's a kli that they go and they, to untie the knots of threads. Something like that. He said, no problem. Don't worry about it. Being Ago, she became Mitzoyo, leopard. So they put her in the market of Rome. And they gave her this kli. Why? Anybody who got Suras Roimi, they brought her that kli. Dudle means he undid these knots. Why? He did something which is not really so useful. And they're stuck in the middle of the market doing this unproductive thing. And they can't do much because they're leopards. So people will see it and they'll daven for them. Yom Echad, Rabbi Shua Chananyo passes by. That she was using, untying these knots with this kli. Remember? You asked me for this. He says, I want your God to give me this kli. Here, you got it. He says, please tell him to take it away from me. He gives, doesn't take back. So according to the Marsha ben Yayodo, she's basically telling her, you are koy for Hashgacha Pratis. So you say, once he created the world and he left. So L'shitasech, he gave you something and he left you. That's on your own. If you believe Hashgacha Pratis, so he gave and take, and we give you something and continue giving, continue dealing with you. But you were koy for Hashgacha Pratis. So that's the punishment that you have. He's giving you, he's not taking it back.
So she didn't do tshuva.
Pasha's not. Says the Gemara, Omar Rav Yudo Shor Kraston Upraston. It should tell you that an ox has a big stomach and big feet. Rav Reishe for Rav Genufti. And he has a big head and a big tail. V'chiluf, the opposite, v'chamra. Donkey is the exact opposite. Small stomach, small feet, small head, small tail. Someone comes and buys an ox, and gives him a donkey. He says, I call it this donkey, you call it ox. Here's the definition, how they're supposed to look like. It's interesting why it's here. He had only one horn in his forehead. Makrin mafris. So makrin we say is one keren. Makrin tarate mashva. Why makrin is makrin loshon karnai. Mamnachin mikeren ksif. It says with one without a yud, only one keren. But what's the idea of only one keren? The Rashi already brings in Buri Agodis that the idea is that Adam Rishon did things on his own. Like he went to Yetzedas. So to come and show that everything connects to one, it was only one horn. The horn is always connecting something from here. It brings the head of the animal is here, but there's a horn going higher. Like the kisir or hisiris, connecting something higher. It's one. Everything is echot to Kodesh Baruch.
Like your yarmulke. Like your yarmulke.
That's one.
Yeah.
From my view though, Shoshi Kivadam Rishon, Kornov Koid Moisla Pasoisov. Meaning, the shar that was born, usually when you have a young calf, it's born without horns. Feet are born first. Later, when he gets older, he starts, the horns grow. But when the creatures were created in Ma'aseh Bereshis, they were created as adults. So what comes out first? The head. The head is created first. The head of this shar had already the horns as an adult. So kind of were created before Pasois, so before his feet. Shema v'tel Hashem mishor par makrin mafris. It says karen before Pasois. Makrin b'reish v'ad mafris. Say Alev Shuba Levi. That's right of Shuba Levi. Told Shuba Levi called Ma'aseh Bereshis b'krim mosoy nivro. What's means in the full growth. This, by the way, is what he brought down in the Medrash. The Adam Rishon, how old was Adam Rishon when he was born? He was 0, right? But at what size of a body was he? The Medrash says he was the size of a 25-year-old. So he was fully developed. He wasn't created as a baby. He was created as a full adult. That's what the Mishnah was. So was the entire Bria was created as an adult. So that's the Kremos of Nivru. What? Chava to L'churu. Yeah. Especially if you say there were 2 Parsufim. 2 faces just cut in half. The dice of Nivru. So dice of Nivru, Rashi learns that Nivru, they were asked if they want to be created. But Tzivyonim Nivru, Rashi says over here that they chose the way they want to look like. Or it's another form of full development. Like with all what they needed, with all the tzava. Shema Yechul Shemaim Bo'ad Tzachol Tzavam, Atikei Tzavam El Tzivyoinam. So the Tzivyonim is with everything they have, that they agree to the way they look like. The first don't like the Shana Rashi, they say to the monkey want to look like a monkey. Like not every creature looks so beautiful. So did they want to look that way? Okay.
They're created. I mean, they were created.
But she says they were asked. Who's asked? The Malach that's in charge. Do you want to be created and do you want to look this way? That's what it says. Why? On what can it so by creation of the Ilonos, it says, it says leminoi by the trees. Why? So to tell you that each one has to grow on its own, not to become trees together. One thing is nosut showing so the grass said because wants to be all mixed up. So why did he make it separate by trees? Ilonos anyway, naturally they have separation because each one is very big, so they naturally separate from each other. Still have to emphasize the mineu. So us, we are the grass that we usually come together. Of course, Kishbuk is applying to that, is implying to us as well. Each one came on his own, and that's what Rashi says because the mineu it says by Desha only one was created. It doesn't say Lemineo in the Tzivui. It says Lemineo only later. Says the Gemara.
Also is that the fruits, the tree, you don't have a tree that has apples and oranges together.
Each one is its own thing, right? Okay. Pasuk Sarah Oilam V'Amar Yichvoy Deshem Loilam Yispach Hashem Ma'aseh. We should be happy that everybody did his Ritzayim. Here Tosfos discusses what is Sarah Oilam. Who's Sarah Oilam? So Sarah Oilam is the Malach Matat. He's the one in charge in the world. The question is, the Gemara in Yevamos tells us that Chanoich was Sarah, he became the Matat. So, but Chanoich was not born yet. Chanoich is, coming a few generations later. So how can it be the Sarah? So Tosfos says, maybe it's a machlokes in the Gemaras. Remember that the one way the race explained is that there was always a Matat, there was always that Koyach, but Chanoich elevated himself to be him. He was there before as well. Okay. Says the Gemara by Ravino, Yekiv Shnei Choim Zalga, they put grasses one on each other, connected. When Daf Samech Amud Beis, just turn Daf Samech Beis. Rav Chanina Papa Malkut, Rav Chanina Papa that said that on their own they decided not to be together. Because they didn't say Lemineu when they were created. Lemechayed, maybe it's no Isser. Because Geshbuch agreed. I mean, it says in the Torah later, Lemineu. Keman Dichtibu Lemineu Damio. So maybe maybe then it's usher. Take. We're not sure if grass, harkava, is a problem. And that Tosfos goes on to say l'churtz and farish that says there is a problem of kilayim. So Tosfos meant to say why this does not apply to the kilayim that we know in Maseches Kilayim. Says the Gemara now, Shin Pazi Romi brings a question. Ksi, very famous Gemara, Vayas Elokim Itchnei Yamil Oyur Segdoyl. We created 2 large lanterns, noirus. So what's shot? Was it both large or one or big and small? Says the Gemara, really originally they were both large. Can it be that 2 kings will use the same crown? Meaning we're both large, we're both the same thing? Go and shrink yourself. I said something right. There was a good taina. Oh, so no answer.
But you notice that the sun didn't come.
Yeah, good. You'll control day and night because the moon is also there in the day. Sometimes you can see the moon in the day. When you have a candle in the day, it doesn't do anything. So I'm not really useful in the day. Am Yisrael will count all the months Yamim Shanim based on you. Also, you need also the sun for that. Meaning the whole kufris and everything has to do with season, has to do with the sun. Sorry, you're not giving me so much. They're going to call tzaddikim in your name. Yaakov Akoton, Shmuel Akoton, David Akoton, and call him Koton like the moon was called the Mor Akoton. So the moon was not very happy with all that. That's why I need to bring a carbon on Rosh Chodesh to the fact that I made the Yerech small. Why the Sefer Rosh Chodesh says L'Hashem? This will be a kapor for me that I shrunk the moon. Now, this is very hard to understand, obviously. We mentioned this when we spoke about this in Masechet Shavuos. I mentioned it just small nakudo to explain a little bit of what's going on because it's very hard. And the thing is like this: the moon doesn't speak. The moon doesn't talk. There's no conversation. I think there's star of the moon. That's possible. But he says the shot over here, there was no conversation between the moon and the sun. It was a conceptual idea. In what way? The moon represents Am Yisrael. As we say every Kiddush Levana, Shem Hasidim Nischadish Kamoiso. The sun represents the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The sun is the source of energy, and the moon is only a reflection. Am Yisrael is supposed to reflect the light of Kadosh Baruch Hu in the world. In this world, Am Yisrael are not in the level to fully reflect the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning, in the most simplest way, every person ain't tzaddik she'aseh tov v'lo yechto. There's no such thing as a tzaddik who's pure tzaddik, fully representing and reflecting HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. You can't. There's always something zich, my own, not 100%. So in this world, the moon is smaller. The Mekabel is smaller. So according to this pshat, the moon is telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning this world, we're not yet in that level, then the moon will be the size of the sun. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts it down, not a conversation, it's a conceptual idea. But the Maisa, at the end of the day, Am Yisrael want to be able to reflect HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's the try to appease it. Am Yisrael, even when you're small, you're going to be katon, you're going to be calling your name, and you're going to have other things to do. We want to get to the level of full connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you are like, say you're Shemati Tarech, the Pashrat, as we mentioned in Shavuos, what do you mean? Yeshua can make it bigger. Pshat is, he's making it bigger. Every month we get closer, the moon will come, we're getting to the stage that what? That we're going to say, the moon, the fact that the moon is reborn every month is embedded in it. It has the ability to be reborn. And ultimately get to the highest rebirth. And that's what Am Yisrael has. So what it says, I give kapara means I took care of the issue because I gave in it the ability to come back. So that's the idea. It's like a chaver which fits very much with the Mahalach of the Gemara.
So if it comes back, they'll be the same.
Yes, it says they'll be the same, but that's not the point. We don't care if the moon is the size of the sun. The point is that Am Yisrael will reflect the Kodesh Baruch Hu fully.
Because otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It's the Choshech or Laila. So the Levant is the same as how was the Choshech and Laila?
Yeah, right. It's on the same night, right?
No, but the question is, Gemara is, why didn't they make the sun bigger?
When?
Why do you have to make them smaller?
Why do you have to make the moon smaller? Make the sun bigger.
Okay.
So there's a terrace for that.
You couldn't
Because
stand it. Why did you put away the idea?
Oh, that's the terrace. You put away the...
So it's can't be bigger. Okay. Ravasi Rami, Ksiv Vateitze Oretz Deshe Betlas B'Shabto. It says that on the third day already came out the grass. Then it says that there was no grass when Adam Yeshua was created in Mali Shabbat and Shabbos. So they were there in the entrance to the ground. Until Adam Rishon, in other words, they were ready, but they didn't come out until he davened. He wants the davening, so it's there, but he's not going to give it until the davening comes. This goes to answer the question. The Ramesh Shabbos Tzal always bring it. So it says really, he says the Muslims have that in their school of thought. What are you asking Kosh Baruch Hu? Kosh Baruch Hu knows better than you what you need. If he didn't give it to you, that means you don't deserve it. Why are you asking? You tell Kosh Baruch Hu what you need, he knows what you need. He says that in Islam, that's what he said, all the prayers are all shvach. You don't ask for anything. There's no requests. Chutzpah to ask. But Shabbat says, Kosh Baruch Hu wants to give it to you, but you need to ask for it. That's what it says over here by Adam Rishon was supposed to come and ask for the rain. And they want to bring the story like this. He had this garden, he put in their seeds, it didn't grow. But he davened for and came the rain. That's what it says, he's waiting for my davening. That's what it was. By the way, Moshe said it on his own, we found that the Ben Yoda brings it, that the oisios hanelamos, meaning every letter that you write the first letter, but there's other letters that you don't say, which are that letter. For example, the letter Aleph, you spell the letter Aleph, but there's Lamed and Pei, which you don't spell. So the word Adam, Aleph, Dal, and Mem, what are the letters that are missing? Lamed Pei, which is an Aleph, Lamed Tov, which is the Dalet, and Mem, which is the Mem. These letters together come to the word Mispalel. Adam, the inner meaning of the Adam, which once was the David. Okay. This animal called a Shesua is a bria b'fnei atzmi, sheyesh l'shnei gabim, has two backs, v'shnei shidras, and two spines. There's a very interesting lashon. The Kenigi means someone who does, he hunts with a bow and arrow. And ballisteri is Kingi was a special spear, and the ballisteri is the bow and arrow. Very fancy lashon. From here you see how much Rabbeinu know about this animal. The Malbim brings, it's going to be in the Shul Machshava previous daf, that they found this animal in South America. So he says, look at the Pelach, because Baruch Hu said in the Torah that there is such animal. Nobody knew about this animal until they discovered America thousands of years later. And that's going back to previous daf. Shalit boy lamoy. Baruch Hu knows telling you what's going on in the world. When you write your agato, write these very fancy words that usually are not mentioned, and explain what they are. In other words, write the agato in a very fancy vocabulary, and explain these very unique words because to make it more pleasant. And because of this idea, the Gemara brings the next thing, as Rashi says. It says in the pasuk, Chamesh Sarni Plishtim, who the Chamesh Sarni Plishtim? Ha'azoti, Ve'ashdoidi, Ve'ashkeloni. They're the Sarni Plishtim. Hagiti, Ve'akroni, Ve'alvim. There's 6 names over here. Oma Chamisha, V'choshu Shita, you said 5 and there's 6 over here. Oma Avyoinison, Arvoinki Shalaem Chamisha. Meaning the main ones are 5. Right? The ones who are in charge are 5. The Adoinim. Have this very fancy word, write it with this fancy vocabulary and explain what it means. It says one of them is not the Plishti. It's coming from a different place called Ovim. They changed their place. They wanted many gods. They're very scary. People will see them, they start to tremble. Each one has 16 teeth. And they have 16 teeth. Not 16 rows of teeth. What that means.
The note says that they practice cannibalism.
Cannibalism, interesting.
Because they had
teeth to eat it.
What's wrong with that?
There's many psukim. We don't understand what it means. Why we need to tell you that. But really, there's a big oimik here. So don't disregard a pasuk just because you don't know what it's going to tell you. It says in the pasuk of Avim Yoshim Bechatzerim Adazo. It says the Avim were Chatzerim till Azo. Why? My nafkal minon. Why you have to tell me that? So when we dash Avimelech did a shvut Avram Avinu. If tishkari li ulednini v'lenechti, you're not going to come and betray my children, so you can't conquer Eretz Plishtim. Hamagish Bochli leisu kaftoyim lefkom yohavim yainu Plishtim v'leisi l'Yisrael lefkom kaftoyim. Meaning the kaftoyim that are not Plishtim, they will conquer the Plishtim. They're out with the Plishtim, and now Yisrael can take it. No, take it. A similar thing. Ki cheshboin ir sichoy melech emerihi. Right, that was this expression, right? So Sichoin conquered Moav. Ma'inav Kamina, what do you care? It says Moav, don't start with Moav. So how are you going to conquer Sichoin? So Sichoin will conquer it for Moav. So now Yisrael can take that land. They became tar through Sichoin. When Sichoin conquered Amon Moav, it allowed Am Yisrael to take it over. Now the Gemara goes on with another pasuk. Tzidoinim yikro lechermer and Siryoin. Why are you telling me that? Tana snir v'Siryoin me'arei Eretz Yisrael. They're part of Eretz Yisrael, and they call their mountains these names. Every one of the Umasoyim build his own city. And he gave it a name of Eretz Yisrael. They love the mountain of Eretz Yisrael, even empty mountains. They want to have cities by the name of their mountains. Another drasha, another pasuk that seems to be unnecessary. Yosef starts removing the people of Mitzrayim from place to place. They should not call his brothers people that are in Galus. So that's why he did it. So the Gemara brings a few psukim that seem to be unnecessary. Tell you what it is. With this we'll end today. Obviously, Agat is here. Have oimik, the 3 oimik as we mentioned.